This story is about the most powerful emperor, the emperor of emperors, Zhuo Fan. He was the most intelligent and evil in the world, but in the war, his only student betrayed him, and then his soul was transferred to the body of a servant. Let's see how this servant will play with everyone with his intelligence and evil. Our story begins with bodies laid in a pile in a quiet part of the forest. The aftermath of a gruesome battle. The air reeked of blood, drawing all kinds of wild animals to feast on their flesh. Among the countless chomping sounds of animals from amongst the bodies, a young man let out a groan. He wake up from death. He checked his hands as his eyes glazed over, and he said to himself, "Is this the current me?" But suddenly a group of monsters appeared. A wolf's howl echoed as the beast sprung towards the youth. He turned his head, his eyes shining with bloodthirst from his blood-stained face. The killing intent was akin to two swords stabbing into the wolf's eyes. The wolf grounded to a halt, shivering as it curled backwards. The rest of the animals were also making a run for it when they watched those demonic pair of eyes. Despite his weak appearance, the animal's instinct screamed at them of the danger the youth posed. Then he heard a voice. "Zhuo Fan, please save me." Zhuo Fan looked at him and said to himself, "Who does he mean? It must be someone the owner of this body knows. But this is a wonderful second-tier strength. I can benefit from it. I'll take it." Seeing the insidious Zhuo Fan watching him like a rogue watched a beauty, the guard's heart never knew rest as he shouted, "You're not Zhuo Fan." Zhuo Fan smiled and said, "Correct. I am the sacred domain's 8th emperor, demonic emperor Zhuo Yifan." The guard watched in horror as Zhuo Fan raised a palm over his head and began operating his cultivation method. Black streams came from it, twisting like worms as they burrowed into the guard's body. The moment they entered, the guard's face changed. His horrified visage, twisted from pain, now darkened the pale face from the extreme blood loss. With each passing moment, the man inched closer to turning as black as charcoal. In the dark night, even if one didn't pay attention, no one would claim him to be a human. Then Zhuo Fan took back his hand and sat cross-legged, beginning to refine the new Yuan Qi. After some time, he slowly opened his eyes and released a long breath. And he said, "It's dawn? Swing." I didn't expect for a second layer Qi condensation's cultivation would require an entire night. Then Zhuo Fan examined his power. At that moment, a loud sound echoed, and the rock crumbled under the Zhuo Fan's frail punch. Zhuo Fan nodded in satisfaction. The Qi condensation expert's cultivation refined his body and improved it greatly. Based on his body strength alone, he was no weaker than a Qi condensation expert. Zhuo Fan snickered and said, "Emperor of Sword, Zhuo Cheng, just you wait. I'll be there soon. And when I'm back to Holy Land, it will be the end for all of you." Then he started moving, but suddenly stopped when he heard some sounds. And he looked out from behind the tree to see two parties in a stalemate. One had 3 men, Luo clan's guards, surrounding an 18-year-old girl and a 6-year-old boy. The other group wore black and was led by an old man, over 8 people. Then one said, "No wonder the mountain bandits breached the tight security of the Luo clan guards. We had a traitor amongst us." Zhuo Fan sneered inside. He recalled his disciple and clenched his fists. In his past life, he was betrayed by his disciples, and the one he possessed now died from a similar result. He couldn't help relating a bit to the body he occupied, but he soon shook his head and sighed, ready to turn around and leave. With his strength, he had no way of helping them. Besides, there was nothing tying him to the Luo clan. It just wasn't worth throwing his life away for. Yet he only took 2 steps before his heart seized with pain. The 3rd step never came. In fear, Zhuo Fan tightened a hand over his chest. The pain was so excruciating, it brought him to his knees, mumbling, "What's going on? Did my cultivation deviate?" His heart welled with panic. If he deviated right as he built his foundation, the result wasn't as simple as losing all progress. He would never again be capable of cultivation. He would become a cripple. But the pain left as soon as it came. Zhuo Fan stood up and took a deep breath. He couldn't make heads or tails of it. Yet the next step brought with it the same heartache. And he said to himself, "No, this isn't deviation, but heart demon." Thinking of this, He began to look for the source of the heart demon. If a cultivator ignored it, he wasn't far from deviating and becoming a demon. Zhuo Fan soon found its source, but the result left him feeling discontent. Before being possessed, Zhuo Fan was a devoted servant. Luo clan's young miss was very kind to him, and so he pledged lifelong devotion to the clan. The resentment before death was born out of regret of not protecting the Luo clan. It was then the demonic emperor's hatred and his resentment fused, possessing his soul and breathing life into his body, and his resentment became a contract with the demonic emperor, turning into his shackles. In short, the demonic emperor lived so he could replace him in protecting the Luo clan, or the heart demon would haunt him. Zhuo Fan wanted to cry, but no tears came out as he kept cursing, and said, "Blast it! This punk is the worst. He wants me to be a servant, and how could the glorious and magnificent demonic emperor Zhuo Yifan, the 8th emperor of the sacred domain, be tied down by some nameless clan?" Because of his anger, his hand moved automatically to hit the tree, causing it to shatter. The group noticed that, and one shouted, "Who's there? Show yourself!" Shaking his head, he sighed and walked out. Since he got found out, he might as well go deal with that traitorous steward's son. And he said, "Young miss, I advise you to hand over the returning Dragon Palm martial art to avoid any unnecessary casualties." "I don't think you want that either." Luo Yunchang glared back, her pretty face filled with resolve, and she said to the old man, ignoring our MC, "Steward's son, returning Dragon Palm is a spirit-ranked martial art handed down in the Luo clan for generations. We will never hand it over." Zhuo Fan snorted inside. He was wondering why the mountain bandits raided the Luo clan. It was all for a mere spirit-ranked martial art. It was a total waste to die for such junk. Zhuo Fan sighed and shouted bored, "Young miss, it's just a spirit-ranked martial art. Just give it to him and I'll just give you another." All eyes quivered in shock, then looked at him like a nutcase. Steward's son threw his head back and laughed, eyes filled with mockery, and said, "Zhuo Fan, quite the cheeky tone you have there. Taking out a random spirit-ranked martial art? On what grounds can a 15-year-old Luo clan servant do that?" Even the bandits followed with their taunting laughter, not hiding their ridicule. While the guards looked at him in doubt, even his former friends familiar with him looked oddly, and the lady said, "This kid is usually honest. Why does he speak nonsense all of a sudden? Did the mountain bandits scared him silly?" With that, all guards changed their looks into those of sympathy. Zhuo Fan saw through them and just shrugged. His repertoire wasn't limited to spirit-ranked martial art, and even included Demon Emperor's ancient art, the 9 Serenities' secret records. But they'd never believe him. Luo Yunchang shouted, "Zhuo Fan, enough nonsense! Hurry up and look after the young master." Zhuo Fan turned at the scolding voice to find Luo Yunchang in a mask of rage, but her eyes conveyed a trace of pity. Zhuo Fan picked up on her intent. In fact, young miss had to be thinking he was insane, yet she still did not want him to die. As they were speaking, she was looking for a chance to hide him behind the guards. Steward's son snickered, his eyes piercing through Luo Yunchang's as he had figured out her plan. "Young miss is as kind as ever, wanting to save even a mentally unstable servant." Luo Yunchang raged and said, "Steward's son, you won't let even the demented live?" He said right back at you, "If you don't want the innocent to die, take out the returning Dragon Palm. We don't care if our blades get slick with the blood of one more man." With that, the bandit brushed the edge along Zhuo Fan's face and sported a bloodthirsty grin. Zhuo Fan understood that although the young miss had no plan to save him by taking the martial art out as his mistress, it filled him with gratitude just from hesitating. Taking a look back at the bandit, he found a fat man of the same height at 7th layer of foundation establishment, and he said, "It should be doable." The man grinned and raised the blade way up high. It was then that a thump echoed out, soon followed by bones snapping along with the fat man's wails, and his blade had long ago slipped from his hand. Zhuo Fan picked it up and split the man in half. None could even react, and every single one of them stood in shock, to the point they forgot even to breathe. If Zhuo Fan didn't take this chance to leave, he'd never get another. Zhuo Fan's eyes squinted, pressed his advantage and run for young miss and young master. One hand held Luo Yun high while the other grabbed her, running like hell deeper into the forest. Luo Yun Chang was still in a daze, letting him pull her. Steward's son saw the target slipping away again and panicked. "After them!" But the captain and his guards were there to block them. Steward's son said with cruelty, "Think you can stop us?" The captain said, "No, but we can buy them some time for them to get away." Gnashing his teeth, Steward's son looked darkly beyond them. "That brat dares to meddle in my affairs. Once I get my hands on him, I will flay him. I'll make him wish for death." Zhuo Fan carried Luo Yunhai in one hand while the other pulled the tender arm of Luo Yunchang in his mad dash, leaving behind the cries and wails of the guards at their backs. Luo Yunchang recovered after a while and said anxiously, "Wait, we can't just leave them." Zhuo Fan kept going without paying her any heed. Luo Yunchang saw him disobeying her, and he threw the girl on the ground. Zhuo Fan stopped and stared her down. She said, "We need to go back. We can't let the guards throw their life away for us." Zhuo Fan said, "Can you beat them?" Luo Yunchang sighed with a frown. And she said, "The others are bad enough, but they have Steward's son in the 6th layer of chi condensation, while I am only in the 3rd layer, and the captain in the 4th. Even if we join forces, we are still no match for him." Zhuo Fan said, "What's the point of returning then? Let's go." It was now that the child in his other hand squirmed, and he said, "Stinky slave, how dare you talk back to your master? Apologize to my sister, and I won't let you butt blossom in pain." Zhuo Fan looked in a daze, the pup bearing his fangs in his arm, then looked at Luo Yunchang. The young miss was angry, recalling he was but a mere servant of the Luo clan. Only now did his disrespectful words sink in. Zhuo Fan said to the child, "Your family is on the brink of being exterminated, yet you have time to nitpick?" Then Zhuo Fan stared at Luo Yunhai and said, "Brat, think I won't make your butt blossom?" Luo Yunhai said, "You dare, slave!" With a grin, Zhuo Fan bent him over the knee, pulled his pants, and slapped like no tomorrow. The sonorous slaps rang in their ears, striking Luo Yunhai and Luo Yunchang dumb. They never dreamed of this ever happening, a servant daring to slap a master's bum, to the point even the bratty Luo Yunhai forgot about the pain, but he soon got a taste of the scorching sting on his rear. Luo Yunchang cried in alarm, wrestling her brother from him and into her embrace. "Zhuo Fan, you dare raise your hand against your master?" Luo Yunchang was known in the clan for her gentle nature and warm and refined demeanor, a girl from a wealthy family that never got angry. But Zhuo Fan's act took the cake and made the rage inside her burn like never before. Zhuo Fan avoided her eyes as he sneered, saying, "Not as daring as young miss, to the point of wasting time berating others while the enemy is just around the corner. And I only slapped him a few times, but if you do not run, those men will soon take his life." Zhuo Fan pointed at Luo Yunhai. Luo Yunhai was still angry, but Zhuo Fan's words struck close to home. Her brother was the only male left in the clan. She could sacrifice herself, but nothing must happen to him. After some thought, she became serious and said, "Zhuo Fan, take young master and leave while I stall them." Zhuo Fan said, "I refuse. If you dare leave, I will kill this brat." She was at a loss for words. Never would she have imagined her clan would house such an arrogant and impudent servant that would dare threaten their master. Zhuo Fan added, "I've lived in the Luo clan for all my life and do not know the surrounding. If you leave, me and the brat won't make it." Luo Yunchang nodded in silence, her anger cooling. It made sense, but the next words flamed her anger to new heights, staring daggers at him. As he said, "It won't mean much even if you die, but try not to take me down with you." Luo Yunchang said you, but he ignored the pair and turned to walk and asked, "Is there any place nearby where we can hide?" Snorting, Luo Yunchang glared at him while ignoring the insufferable servant. But she was a young miss after all, and even though her anger never waned, she still knew to look past it in this dangerous situation. And she said, "There's only farmland around us for 100 miles, and only the west face of the Black Wind Mountain is the only place few people venture in. It is a forest covered in fog that not even the mountain bandits know in detail." Zhuo Fan said, "Then that's where we'll go. Carry your brother and lead the way." Luo Yunchang said to herself in anger, "Just you wait. Once we get out of this, I will put you in your place." 4 hours later, they found them before a fog-wreathed forest. Luo Yunchang said, "This is Misty Forest. covered in fog year-round. Any who enters will find it hard to come out. We might lose them there, but we might also get lost for all eternity. Zhuo Fan didn't pay her much heed, inspecting the area, especially the mountain in the east, which was surrounded by clouds, and he inquired, "Is that Blackwind Mountain?" Luo Yunchang nodded and said, "My dad said Blackwind Mountain's mountain lord has great power, no less than his. Our clans have been fine for decades yet, for some reason, their bandits attacked out Manor." Zhuo Fan rubbed his chin, showing heartfelt admiration, and said, "Hey, hey, hey, good place," and he mumbled, "Azure dragon in the east, white tiger in the west, vermilion bird in the south, black tortoise in the north, and Killen's horn in the center, breaking the sky. This is a natural array." Such a pity. No one knowledgeable discovered it. Now that I'm here, I'll make this place my second Devil Mountain. Then Zhuo Fan turned his head and asked, "Young miss, want to kill Steward's son and the rest here?" Luo Yunchang was startled. They only numbered 3 while a strong party was hunting them down, and they had hardly enough time to escape. Just how were they going to destroy them? Luo Yunhai snorted, smiled wryly at Zhuo Fan and said, "Stinky slave, stop bragging." Zhuo Fan said, "Is your butt itchy again?" Zhuo Fan's glare stuck Luo Yunhai's words in his throat. That round of slapping to his rear told him this servant couldn't care less for this young master. He mumbled on his sister's shoulder, "Humph, a wise man knows when to retreat. Once I get home, I'll see how tough you are." With her brother in her arms and to avoid the vile servant's wrath, Luo Yunchang asked in doubt, "How?" With a light smile, Zhuo Fan extended his arm. "Young miss, how many spirit stones do you have? Please give them all to me." Luo Yunchang watched him with a vigilant eye and inquired, "What do you need them for?" Zhuo Fan said, "Young miss misunderstands. I'm not trying to take advantage of a declined clan and turn into an evil servant that robs it. All my actions are for your safety," she said. "Still consider yourself a loyal servant? The way I see it, there's not a viler servant out there who can outmatch you." Then gave him her ring and said, "This is all my wealth. If you dare lie to me, I will never forgive you." Zhuo Fan took it with a smile and sank in the mist, and said, "Wait for me here." Luo Yunhai raved once the servant was gone and said, "This servant is too outrageous. He even dares to order his master. Sister, you need to punish him for me." She shook her head and looked at the roaming mist and said, "Yunhai, he might be rude, but he's always helping us. Much better than those strong hypocrites. We can't reward kindness with enmity." Luo Yunhai thought for a moment, then said, "Yes, it's all that damned steward's son's fault." Luo Yunchang was pleased and praised him. "Yunhai, you're growing up." But then he hissed through his teeth, "As for that stinky slave, he should be spanked like no tomorrow. Killing him is too easy for him." Zhuo Fan walked among the white fog, his deep eyes taking in his surroundings. From time to time, his hand flashed, and a spirit stone flew out from the ring and disappeared into the ground. His hands made signs with lightning speed, while he spoke the incantation from the 9 Serenity's secret records. The wind shifted and the sky darkened. With wails, gray shadows fell from the sky and hid in the misty forest. The siblings held closer to each other, shaking in fear while taking steps back for some semblance of comfort. Yet the wails and shrieks stopped as soon as they started, while the sky cleared up and even the sun peeked through the clouds. Misty Forest's fog dissipated and revealed Zhuo Fan walking over. Luo Yunchang watched him with bewilderment and asked, "What just happened? What did you do?" He only waved and entered the forest and said, "Follow me." Luo Yunchang was suspicious. However, she led her brother behind. Zhuo Fan had a mysterious appearance that made the two not voice their doubts. When they arrived at an ancient tree, Zhuo Fan said, "Stay below this tree for now. I will teach you how to control the Wraith Array, and when Steward's son comes, you can use it to kill them." Luo Yunchang was stunned, and she inquired, "What? This is an array?" In fact, arrays were even more precious than martial arts in this world. No sect would ever dare release even a normal array to outside. Even if the auction had a first-grade array, it would still sell for hundreds of thousands spirit stones. They were rare and in high demand. Yet, at this very moment, a mere servant casually set up an array. It was impossible that this feat would result in the young miss being shocked silly. She asked, "How can you?" He said, "Forget about how for now, and do what I said. This is a bewildering array which can affect the perceptions of others inside. And this is also a killing array, controlling wraiths, to kill your enemies. On the other hand, one said, Steward's son. They went towards the misty forest, 10 miles outside the misty forest. With cold laughter, Steward's son straightened his mustache and said, quite a good hiding place. We know the mountain area, but not that eerie place. However, then Steward's son looked at the bound captain, and his eyes flashed with an evil glint, and said, Captain Pang, you're up soon. With how kind young miss is, she won't ignore your pleas. His eyes were bloodshot as he glared at Steward's son and shouted, Don't think you can use me to threaten young miss. You'd better kill me, or I will murder you and avenge my fellow guards. Yet before they could get any closer, snoring came from a man sleeping against a tree. A careful look identified him as Zhuo Fan. One said, Steward's son, it's the one who killed the fatty. Woken up by the voice, Zhuo Fan yawned and opened his weary eyes. Seeing Steward's son and co., he showed no fear, no anxiety. Instead, a smile, and he said, Steward's son, I've waited so long to see you.